Xem SBTN GO mọi lúc mọi nơi, hình ảnh HD, âm thanh rõ ràng, chỉ có 7 đồng 99 cho một tháng sau 7 ngày dùng thử. Quý vị có thể tải SBTN GO trên Google Play, Apple Store, Roku hoặc Amazon.
Tố Uyên xin trân trọng kính chào quý vị khán thính giả. Thưa quý vị, trong chương trình ngày hôm nay, Tố Uyên xin được gửi đến quý vị cuộc phỏng vấn mà chúng tôi đã thực hiện được trong thời gian qua với một vị khách ngoại quốc tên là Jeff Morgan. Jeff Morgan là một lực sĩ trẻ sinh ra trong một gia đình Do Thái và lớn lên ở California. Sau cuộc thi đấu thể dục dụng cụ, anh được xác nhận là một huấn luyện viên cá nhân. Sau đó anh chuyển sang làm việc ở bên Do Thái và học tiếng Hebrew lúc mới hơn 20 tuổi và trải qua thời kỳ tập luyện tâm linh trong hơn 20 năm. Sau hơn 20 năm thiền và tập luyện tâm linh, anh thấy mình xuống tinh thần, lo lắng, sợ hãi và tuyệt vọng. Anh đã gặp vợ của anh ở bên Do Thái và họ có 2 người con trai, hiện đang sinh sống tại California. Sau đây là cuộc phỏng vấn của Tố Uyên với Jeff Morgan.
Well, Jeff, thank you so much for coming here today because after I saw your interview over a month ago, I was so thrilled. I was thinking to myself, I need to invite you to come on the show and share this amazing experience that you went through. But one of the most important topic that you mentioned in this testimony I watched over a month ago was the fitness part and the dieting part, how important it is in our daily lives. So, first of all, thank you so much. I want to say thanks for coming on to the show. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. I'm great. Thank you so much for having me here. It brings me a lot of joy to be able to talk about what God has done in my life, what He has done, not what I have done.
Right.
So this is a great experience. Thank you for having me out, Victoria.
Well, thank you so much, and I thank God for bringing us two together to talk about this very interesting testimony. I have to start out with the first part is about your diet and your fitness. You shared in your testimony recently that you stopped eating meat. I would say over 5 years ago and completely changed your diet.
Right.
What inspired you to go on a plant-based diet?
Then I was suffering from certain health issues, and when I was younger, I was really fit and relatively healthy, but my diet kind of caught up to me. I just didn't know it was my diet at the time. I just thought something's happening to me on the inside. You can see it in my skin. I can feel it. I'm inflamed. My body hurts. And this is around 40 years old where I started to really feel like I was breaking down. And I couldn't really work out that much anymore, which I love to do. I love to go to the gym and just push heavy things around. I love to
lift weights?
Yeah, and run up hills and do stuff like that. I love exercising. I've been doing it since I was 12, and I'm 47, so that's 45 or 35 years of exercise.
Wow.
So when my body started to break down, I tried to figure out what the problem was by adding different foods to my diet. I would find the latest superfood craze, you know, wheatgrass juice or coconut oil or something, and I would drink them and put them on my skin, and I realized that my health wasn't improving. And then my wife, she was so sweet because she was vegetarian for a while and she wanted to go on a plant-based diet, and she asked me if I wanted to do it with her, and I politely dismissed it and I said no, because I won't be able to maintain my muscles, you know.
Your physique.
And I was ignorant. I really didn't understand where nutrients come from and how they feed the body and so forth. And so she just started making dishes, and I was continuing to suffer from my issues. And so I finally decided to watch an interview. It was actually a lecture that she had recommended from a very famous plant-based doctor. And once I saw this video, I was so overwhelmed by his knowledge, I couldn't argue with it. And so at that moment, something changed in me, and then the next day I switched my diet completely to a plant-based diet. That was almost 5 years ago, and I haven't turned back since.
And you don't crave for any burgers or pizza?
Oh, I do.
Oh, you do?
I do, but because I'm really sensitive now to it, my body responds so immediately to what I put into it. So if I have something that I'm sensitive to, or if I have something that my body has a hard time digesting, it will immediately show up on my face, and I'll feel it in my digestive system, and it'll last for a few days, maybe even a week. And so these symptoms really help keep me away from the desires that I have. I would call them more desires than cravings, because I understand where nutrients come from now. I've done a lot of research. And so if you have nutrients from plants and you have nutrients from animals, and the body needs the same thing from either one, then you have to weigh the balance. Does this do me harm? Does this do me good? Does this do me harm, or does this do me good? And so for me, I've always been a relatively disciplined person. So if I look at something and I say, this is going to do me harm and this is going to do me good, I'll just choose the good one, even if I miss the way this tastes.
Very interesting, because I've been hearing a lot of trainers who they say, you know, what you need most is eating lots of protein, because you need X amount of protein daily if you're going to work out, you're going to lift weights.
Right.
And you need to eat lots of chicken, lots of fish, ground turkey, and so on. You've done all that, right? Yes, on the physical side it helped you, but on the health side it didn't help you.
Right, right. So there's a difference between health and fitness. And what I try to do is I try to bring both of those together. So being fit, you can look fit, but your diet could actually be eating you up on the inside. So building muscle and getting strong is not necessarily related to a healthy diet. The healthy diet actually helps you more, because it actually promotes health while you're building muscle. And if you eat a really large quantity of animal protein on a regular basis, like we do here in the West, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, in between snacks, everything has animal protein in it, then you're getting quantities that are very difficult for the body to continue to process on a regular basis. And so at some point the body will break down from overload. And that's what was happening to me when I reached 40. My skin was breaking out. I had what's called rosacea, peeling and itching and you know, pimples on my face. And
I have that right now.
And I'm 40,
right.
and I'm thinking, how am I'm still getting, you know, acne?
Pimples, right?
I'm like, am I 13? You know. And so once I changed the diet, I realized that what I was putting in was the cause of these reactions. So I took it out, and those reactions, I would say 80% of them went away. Now there's a big epidemic of processed foods. You know, people eat processed foods, so it's not all the animal products. It's, you know, processed foods, refined foods, a lot of sugar, a lot of white flour, a lot of refined things, and so we eat those, and then our body has a negative reaction to those too, and it breaks the body down over time as well. So it's not just the animal products, but I found that it was predominantly the amount of animal products that I was eating, that when I took out my symptoms, some of them within 2 weeks disappeared. And I was carrying these symptoms for
years,
decades.
Really?
Yeah, 10 years, 15 years.
Did you feel lighter as soon as you switched to plant-based diet versus animal-based?
Yes.
Suddenly your body just...
Yeah, because you know, growing up as a gymnast and as an athlete, as a competitive athlete, I was always used to seeing myself in a specific way and feeling a certain way. So when all that started to change, I started to become self-conscious, and I started to, what's happening with me? This doesn't look like the guy that I used to be. And so once I changed the diet, any excess body fat just fell off.
Wow.
And I wasn't doing cardio, I wasn't running. I just went back to the gym and started training. I started to build muscle and get leaner, which is what everybody wants, right? They want to be toned and fit, athletic, and they want to get lean, especially as they're getting older.
Yes.
So when these things started to happen, I wasn't expecting them.
Wow.
Just like we're probably going to get into, I wasn't expecting Jesus either. He sure showed up, you know.
When you least expected.
Exactly. I wasn't looking for him.
Right.
So I wasn't looking necessarily to lose body fat and you know, change in the ways that I did. I just wanted to feel better.
Yeah.
And so when I changed and then I started to feel better, I said, something's happening here. So I'm just going to keep going and see how it goes. And so my wife and I, we did it. She was really happy.
Wow.
And so it took us about 6 months before we brought our kids into it.
Wow.
And, you know, it was a little bit scary for me at first.
Why?
Well, because I was so conditioned in the fitness industry that you have to have animal protein in order to be strong, to grow well, you have to have milk so you can have calcium, and all of these things that sound right, but are mostly just advertisements to sell product.
So it's not true.
Well, no, it's obviously
With
not
children.
true. I have friends that have been vegan for over 30 years.
And they're fine.
They're not just fine, they're healthy and they're bigger than me.
Right. I mean, I'm saying they're fine in terms of, you know, how we hear people say, you know, you make sure your children drink X amount of glass of milk every day because
Right.
if you want to grow tall, you want to be strong. Well,
Right.
you don't need to drink milk to grow tall or be strong,
Right,
right?
right. So they have that example with me and the family.
Yeah.
So the kids, when they were younger, this was really cute. One of my older son, when he was, I think he was like 6, he saw one guy walking down the street with muscles, and he said, "Oh, he must be vegan." And I thought that's a great thing because he's coming from he wasn't brainwashed through his entire life to believe that he needed cow's milk and animal protein.
Right.
And so when you look at these foods, you ask, what do I need from them? Well, if I'm drinking milk for calcium and protein, what is the source of those ingredients? And so you look, if you just study just a little bit, it doesn't take just a little bit of research, you'll be able to find out that, you know, calcium is a mineral, it comes from the ground, it comes from the earth, gets sucked up by the plants, it's eaten by the animals and, you know, incorporated into their body. And the amino acids are in the plants that the animal eats, so the animal basically disassembles the amino acids or the protein that's in the plant and takes the amino acids and forms them together into their own specific protein that they need. And our bodies are designed to do the same thing.
Right.
So we just took out the middleman or the middle animal
That's
and
so
just
sweet.
went right to the source.
Right.
And it's been wonderful for us. My kids were regularly sick. They had earaches, fevers, infections on a regular basis. Probably once every few weeks they would get sick. Being, you know, growing up with, you know, around a bunch of children and everything, things pass from child to child, and they would catch them. We thought, I guess this is just a normal development of the immune system.
Right.
And come to find out that once we took them off of the animal products, they didn't get sick anymore. And if they did, it was rare. And when they did, it was 1 or 2 days, and it was mild and just comes and goes. And it's been like that for 5 years.
Wow.
So for us, we've had proof. My parents did the same thing, and their health improved. My dad went off of medication at age 70.
That's amazing.
Yeah, off of medication.
Completely.
Yeah, yeah. Now his doctor has been cautious, so for his cholesterol, he gives him a quarter a serving every other day, I think it is, instead of a full dose every day or twice a day. So he's gone off, but his doctor says, you know, just in case.
Just in case.
And you know, he doesn't need
So
it.
not 100% like, you know,
Yeah.
trust in this new
Exactly.
plant-based diet.
Exactly.
Very interesting. Dạ vâng, thưa quý vị. Xin quý vị khán thính giả vui lòng giữ màn ảnh SBTN, chúng tôi sẽ trở lại trong giây lát.
Chúng tôi xin cảm ơn sự theo dõi trở lại của quý vị khán thính giả. Thưa quý vị, để tiếp tục chương trình, tôi Uyên xin mời quý vị khán thính giả xem buổi nói chuyện của chúng tôi với lực sĩ Jeff Morgan.
Let's continue on. When you mentioned your father, that he completely, because you are a prime example to your family, and so your parents saw you completely change in this healthy, you know, physically, mentally, spiritually. And so they're doing this, and then he doesn't need to take any medications anymore.
Right.
At the age of 70, all due to plant-based diet.
Right.
Are they 100% totally for it now?
Yeah, yeah.
No doubt in any.
Well, my father was on cholesterol-reducing medications, or what they call statins, for I think 30 years.
30 years?
Yeah, he was trying to reduce his cholesterol for 30 years
Oh my
through
gosh.
medication. And so it was always on his mind, and it always bothered him that it wasn't coming down to normal levels. And so once it did, within 3 months, 6 months, his cholesterol was below the average.
Wow.
Yeah, and so for him, that was all he needed. I've been doing it this way for 30 years. This did it within 6 months. I'm in. You know, because he wants to live longer and be healthy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it was easy for him. So they've been on board ever since. I mean, they have their little cheat moments,
Yeah.
and that's
And it's
fine.
okay.
Totally.
And it's okay. So since you changed this to this new diet, your kids, to them, that's normal. It's not like something that, oh my gosh, it's a big deal, right?
Right.
And they don't crave, you know, food that has meat or fish or seafood, right? They're
Right.
just,
No,
they don't think about it.
They don't. They were not sensitized or desensitized to the whole thing over time. So when they walk by the fish section, they go, ew, because it smells. And when they walk by the meat section, they go, ew, because it smells. They don't,
Right.
they don't like the way that it smells, and they understand that in this form, to them, it's not appealing. And so even if you cook it up, it's still that thing.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so what we did as parents is we decided to simply just educate them.
Yes.
This is what it is. This is where it comes from. They might call it this, but it's really that. So, you know, we make up words for things, like bacon. You know, and as delicious as it smells and tastes and everything, they know where it comes from. And so they just simply don't want to eat it. Now, we don't put the pressure on them when they go out into social environments that they have to stay strict.
Yeah.
If they want to eat something, they can.
Optional for them.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, they can.
And
So-
it doesn't affect their growth, right? Because society said you have to drink milk or you have to eat this, children have to do this in order to grow tall.
Right.
But your kids are prime examples that they're eating healthy and they're still growing fine.
Exactly. One of the ways I like to describe my children is they are lean and strong. They're not lean and frail. They're not skinny and weak. They're lean and strong. So they're not carrying around extra weight. They don't hardly ever get sick. So their immune system is strong, and they have muscle tone
Wow.
at, you know, ages 10 and 7. And so it's really great to watch that. And I believe that that's how children were meant to be raised, not to be overweight so that they can grow as fast as they can and have overabundant resources within their body, so that they grow naturally and normally. And if they are a little bit shorter than, you know, another child, don't look at it as, oh, they're undernourished. You can look at it as they're growing at their natural rate according to their own growth chart. And also we look at our family. Do we have tall people in the family? Do we have short people in the family? And our family is relatively short. Me and my older brother, my brothers are an exception, but my parents are shorter than we are. My wife's parents are shorter than I am. Her brother is short. So genetically we're relatively short. So if we look at my kids and say, oh, they're shorter than other kids, that comparison is really irrelevant.
And I often hear people say, well, you know, eating diet is like 70 to 80% and working out is like 20 to 30%. When they compare that, when they say that, they're thinking about eating right, like enough protein. No, I'm not talking about plant-based. I'm just saying like the general world out there. Do you agree with that? So now if you know, been just eating plant-based, which means your workout, you don't have to put so much effort into working out 7 days a week, 2 hours each day, because eating right is the biggest factor in staying healthy already.
That's right.
And your muscles, you have definitions, it defines your physique just by eating right and eating healthy.
That's right. That's right. So the eating part of it, and I once said this in one of my YouTube videos on my channel, was if I could choose between working out and eating right, if I had to choose between the two of them, I would probably go kicking and screaming, but I would choose eating right. If I had to make the choice, you know, between the two.
That's what I tell people.
Because I understand that if I eat right, then I can live longer, and I can live better, healthier. The quality of life for me will get better, but I'll also be able to be an example to my children. So, you know, in many cases we see young kids growing up and the examples that they have with regards to not just health and wellness or health and fitness, but also spiritually. People are sick. You know, they're physically sick, they're spiritually sick, and the kids are looking up at these people as the examples of what's to come. So I've always wanted to be, for my children, an example of health and wellness, and now having a real strong spiritual connection with God. I can now pass something down that I really feel confident about.
And I just love it whenever you mention God, because when we put God in the center of our lives is just so much just so much more joyful and at peace.
That's right.
It's when I saw your testimony over a month ago, I thought this was one of my favorite testimony over the last year and a half. There's so much, things I didn't learn. I've been hearing a lot of people talk about New Age and how they came out, but it's interesting how, when those people are in it, they don't know the difference when you're in it. You're deep in the New Age practice. You don't know your life is actually more miserable than when you come to Christ and suddenly your life is more happier and at peace and everything just so light, right?
Right.
And then when you raise your family, you have your family, you just feel now your life there's meaning to life and there's truth and there's joy, versus in the past you didn't feel like that, even though you have this beautiful family, but you didn't have this happiness while practicing New Age. And for those Vietnamese people who don't know New Age, can you talk about a little bit about New Age?
Yeah, New Age is it's very difficult to define, but it's really based on gathering elements from different philosophies and different religions in a relative manner, making them your own, and doing everything that you can to, and there are some good elements to it, but those elements don't have to be tethered to the New Age movement. You know what I mean? So compassion, peace of mind, equality, ethics, morality. So the New Age movement is based a lot on Eastern philosophy. And the Americans love to take bits and pieces of other philosophies that they like, make them their own, and develop their own religion, which I like to call the religion of me.
Oh.
Which is really what it is, because you can't define it.
Right.
So you can look at Christianity, you can look at Judaism, and you can look at Islam and say, these are specific religions, and they have their basic principles. And you can look to them to see how you must behave in order to be one of them. But the New Age it's pretty abstract, and the concept is, okay, so do a lot of meditation, clear your mind, focus on positive things, don't entertain anything negative. Some of it gets into the occult and witchcraft, but that depends on if you're drawn to that or not. I wasn't, thank God. But mostly what I did was I spent a lot of time in meditation. I spent a lot of time in contemplation. I spent a lot of time in self-awareness, all with the desire to elevate myself to a higher spiritual plane in order to reach enlightenment. And what enlightenment was for me was a state of mind where I no longer feel pain. I feel basically what they say heaven is. And so in the New Age, you choose the spiritual practices that you like, you make them your own. Basically everybody is right. Everybody's philosophy is correct because it's right for them. So it's a relative kind of mind frame. And so over the years I took on this philosophy, I made it into my own, and I basically thought that because I was a good person, that no matter what I did, it was all okay. As long as I was striving to improve and evolve and become a better person. So if I hurt somebody along the way, it was okay. It was just a bump along the way towards my own evolution. And so I looked at, I hurt a lot of people in the past.
Don't we all do? We all do.
We all do. Yeah, we all do. But I didn't realize that I was doing it because it was under the guise of progress. Oops, I made a mistake here. I did something very harmful to someone. I can learn from that, hopefully. But really, because it's a religion of me, there's no consequences to the behavior. There's no real deep consequences to the behavior, other than a little bit of friction between you and someone else, or a time period where you're struggling with someone else based on what you're doing to them or what you've done to them, and getting out of that situation, and then saying, oops, I did a lot of bad there. I need to maybe do it better next time. And most of the time, I didn't do it better next time because there was really no accountability to a higher power. Therefore, there wasn't much pressure in becoming a better person until I started having children.
Dạ vâng, thưa quý vị, và đó là tập 1 của buổi phỏng vấn ngày hôm nay. Mong quý vị sẽ nhớ đón xem tập 2 vào chương trình kỳ tới. Đến đây chúng tôi xin trân trọng kính chào tạm biệt tất cả quý vị và xin hẹn gặp lại quý vị vào chương trình kỳ tới.
Xem SBTN GO mọi lúc mọi nơi, hình ảnh HD, âm thanh rõ ràng, chỉ có 7 đồng 99 cho một tháng sau 7 ngày dùng thử. Quý vị có thể tải SBTN GO trên Google Play, Apple Store, Roku hoặc Amazon.